Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Search, Deploy, Commit. I'm here as your host for another interview, another Warzone interview with our very own 111. He's made maps, he's played games, he's hosted games. He seems like he's done about everything. He's played with lots of modded games. 111, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Do
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
You're
Awesome.
welcome.
Well, I really we've been, a lot of you aren't aware, but we've been working towards getting this interview scheduled for some time. So
Like
I've been
several
very
months.
excited to make this. Yeah, right. So it's been quite a long time getting this going. So we're very happy to finally be connected, literally on opposite ends of the world. So it's great to have you here. And if you listen to the show, I always like to start things off right at the beginning. So, how was your first introduction to Warzone? How did you get started in the game?
I slightly remember I've played the game in like 2017 or 2018, but at that time it was only a single player, and I raged quit over like a few games. And,
Nice.
and one day in late 2020, I was like, "Wait, that game was fun. Why didn't I just find it again?" And after some searching, the name was Warzone. It changed from Warlight apparently, and I joined in, started playing some casual quick match games, and got introduced to another, let's say, new way of playing the game. Not so
Nice.
nerve wracking game, and that is what kept me playing all along.
Nice. So the fact that it wasn't quite as intense as some other games really helped you to continue playing and stick with Warzone. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Say that's accurate.
Mm.
Nice. I think quick match wasn't something that I really got started in until maybe I had played through a fair amount of the single player before I started poking around. Do you feel that's still one of the best ways to play Warzone is just jump right into a quick match?
A lot of people you first meet in quick match is either worse than you, around the same as you, or won't beat you up too much. It is fairly welcoming for a level 1 user or a newcoming user to introduce the game. And often, my younger self thinks that the single player games would be too intense or too hard for me.
Hmm. So you would almost recommend the quick match over a single player game as they start getting harder for a new player.
I agree. In general,
Interesting.
quick match is a more changing one, and will just gang up and beat you for like several AIs. You can just go and play
Yeah,
1v1s.
that's a really good point. If you think about it from the standpoint of the AI in the game, especially for new players, can be very brutal. It can be very challenging in comparison to maybe another new player, right? That's got a different strategy. So that's a really good point. And maybe this is, common knowledge to most of Warzone, but I think that's something that should be talked about in the open. What what did you find yourself doing more of as you continued playing the game? Because I was looking at your profile, and you've created maps. You even were hosting modded games for a while. Did you make mods as well, or were you hosting modded games?
I I genuinely don't know a lot about programming, and I have made about several my two maps before as a kind of touch into the map making. But as
Okay.
soon as a few months, like 2 or 3 months into the game, I have stumbled upon a diplomacy games. That since the first one, diplomacy game, Blood and Oil, hosted in like March 2022. I played as a one and got in a considerable progress until I fell myself into trouble via one message and something. After that, I've been very interested in diplomacy games and even made my own, which all of those are shown in my profile.
Nice.
After I
That's
got
that's really
after I got membership from collecting coins, I started even playing. I
uh,
started even playing and hosting modded games. And in general, the mods are quite nice as I make them and use them. And I
nice.
generally
And
think
so,
that they Warzone is a very enjoying experience. I know.
yeah, right. No, I agree. And I think, the point you made about diplomacy games and how you got stuck in that. Do you remember, do you have like a favorite memory or a favorite match in diplomacy that really stands out to you? Or maybe something that happened in that diplomacy game?
The favorite parts of me on the diplomacy games is just watching the scenarios I've made and rolling out and build up as long as possible and looking at how they've rolled out. Of course, victory is short, and once you get beaten up by great power or become PE, it's very easy for you to just die.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. When it starts leaning very heavily towards one side, the shift in power, you can get very what's the word, predatory, right? Those big players, they can tend to dominate and they don't care about diplomacy anymore. They just declare
Not all
war
of
on
those games
everybody.
are in balance. Not all of those games are balanced.
True, true. I mean, do you think that's maybe why diplomacy players like diplomacy games a little bit, because it isn't so balanced in that they like the idea of a challenge, or maybe they wouldn't compete as well in a more competitive match?
I believe the roleplay aspect is more important.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Enjoy the actual experience of fulfilling a role in the story versus winning or losing. They don't mind being the bad guy because
Among like
they're
10,
enjoying the
among like
story.
among like 30 to 40 players in a casual diplomacy, only one will win.
True.
So it is a
That's true.
chances are you won't win any single diplomacy game until very later when you play very later in your playing
Right.
experience. So it is more
Now,
important for the experience than the results.
right. Yeah, because you know that there's really, I mean, out of 40 people, only one of them's going to win. So, unless you're really trying to be that person, you're just about fulfilling a part of the story. That's a really good point, and I think that's probably not going to cut it for a lot of players. Is that idea that I'm not going to win is not something
Mm,
that everybody's about, right? But I
mm,
think diplomacy players get that part of the game. They understand that it
mm,
is more about the story that they're a part of, right?
mm.
What's your favorite scenario to set up in a diplomacy game? Like, is there a certain genre or story that you prefer?
Uh, I don't technically enjoy making a single subgenre of diplomacy games, but there are
Okay.
several modes that I would like, especially the historical ones. They
Hmm.
I have played a lot of World War I, World War II, or Cold War games. I've even played some 1444 games, and but
Okay.
to but for me, I enjoy creating more alternate history games, like just everything everywhere all at once.
Nice. So you're talking about alternate history, like not just a set time period, but different time periods combined.
I usually base it on something. For example, for my first ever custom scenario diplomacy game, Disarray, I was thinking of every state was shattered World War I.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah,
That
that's
one didn't turn out very great, but at least it was an attempt for me.
yeah, absolutely. I think with a lot of probably Warzone hosts is you're going to have games that are just going to absolutely flop, right? That are just not going to go well. And you got to go through those to get better and figure out how to actually make a good one. So I mean, I think I commend anybody that's hosting a Warzone game, to keep doing it, right? I mean, I'm sure you would probably say something along those lines.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
so I guess another question I have would be, uh, if you're going to have a new player, because I like asking players on the show, if you had a brand new player, what is some advice that you would give them? Like somebody you're introducing to the game for the first time.
Just for like every single game, just try to get into multiple aspects of the game. For example, competitive warzone, casual warzone, like clan warzone shit, diplomatic warzone, the forum, the map making, the programming. Just try that warzone idle, even just try out everything. You will always find a thing that would suit you most, and
Hmm,
you would enjoy you would enjoy the most.
that's good.
For
I
example,
think that's good advice.
some people like JK3 Let's Fight are very into competitive Warzone. Others like Surfalls and Two Fit and Jordan. I know who Jordan is. Are very into diplomacy. Others like Nikitan and Ethan are very into map making. And
Yeah,
yeah,
right. So everybody's got to find their niche. You got to be playing around with all the different aspects of the game to
mm,
really find what matters to you. That's good. I
mm,
like that advice. What would you say about being in harmony? I mean, it's funny because I've got a couple of people on the docket for harmony. May or may not have already been on the podcast when this airs, but how do you feel about being in that clan?
not much. Um, Actually, I don't. I start to not care a lot about the clan. Just when I
Is
was
it?
very into clan activity, for example, clan wars and shit,
Yeah.
I was in fact not in Harmony or any of its predecessors. I was in World League and fought for its best in like CW4 to CW8, and then by CW10 I just stopped playing Clan Wars and changed to the Hotopian Dynasty, the predecessor of the current day Harmony. Later, they changed the Fahrenheit and Harmony, and to be honest, I don't feel like a great establishment with the members. I feel like, to be honest, Clan Wars and Clan League on the higher tiers are a bit of churring in just
Hmm.
a little bit of persuasive. One of the members said that if we don't get 15 games in an entire season, we would get kicked in some. We'll get kicked from the union. So I decided, yep, I'm not playing Clan Wars anymore.
Wow. So
In general,
so I
those
mean,
higher up clans like Masters Clan, Hunters, and Hawks
sure.
are trying to get people to participate on a very daily basis. And to be to be fair, I am not those kind of people.
Right. So do you feel that Harmony is doing that as well? They're trying to be more competitive like some of the bigger clans?
They're absolutely trying to. They have excelled in multiple areas of the game, and I have seen those. I after seeing those emails, after seeing those Warzone mails about, bro, just play or else you're gonna get kicked. That really that really told me that yes, multiple competitive Warzone clans are pushing people, are begging people to play.
Mm. It's interesting. I wonder. I mean, I think clans are can be great for the community and helpful, and especially if you enjoy clan wars or clan league, or obviously the benefits of being in a clan for idle as well. But if you're not into those things as a player, what is the benefit, or as a clan, outside of training your players and making them better? um, I think it'd be cool to see some more improvements made for clans to have higher incentives to do well, right? Or to participate well in clans outside of idle. I don't know what they would be. I have no good suggestions, but just something for this reason, like you don't have any incentive to do anything for your clan, right? Is that how you feel, would you
Just
say?
because I'm tired. It's just because I'm tired.
Right. That's
9 months
fair.
into the game, I
That's
feel like it's becoming a chore, and just like I don't wanna play Warzone on that daily basis anymore. I just
that
wanna focus
level.
on other games,
Right.
and so I just don't play
Yeah.
Clan Wars anymore. It's just up to the personality of individual players.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I think, and that's honestly why I enjoy Warzone so much, is because it can be as casual as you want it to be, right? It doesn't have to be fully committed games all the time,
And it can be as
style play, if
competitive
you
as it
want it
can
to be.
be. For example, Let's
Right.
Fight has devoted his uh, devoted his
Right.
experience to leading the Hawks clan and hosting Clan Wars by SF CL16 Clan League, yeah,
Right.
hosting Clan League and just and has devoted a lot into the game in general.
Yeah. Right. So you have these huge swings, and you can do whatever it is you want, on the level of the game, which is awesome, right? I think that's been such a great part of Warzone in general. So
I agree.
really good
Warzone has been
subject
a
matter.
quote unquote perfect game for me for some time.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about your maps, because I think I saw you've created two maps, right?
Those are shit.
Oh, they're not yours. Did I
But
make a
those are
mistake?
not. Those are bad. Just those are bad.
Oh, you think they're bad? I didn't think they were that bad. I thought they were good.
Like
I was gonna.
like what? Like what was I doing in the Russia-Ukraine war? Just doing my best on the borders and then laxing out on the subdivisions.
Yeah, but I mean, so for the record, I've never made a map. So kudos to you for making one, first of all. And then, especially that situation, and it was well done. I thought it looked really nice. I was going to ask you though, with everything that's going on, obviously that's a pretty unique situation to choose for a map being made. I was curious as to why you picked that spot specifically. But I mean, even the other one with the islands, I thought that was really creative as well. What was the inspiration behind those maps for you?
For the Russia-Ukraine war, I was like, the major incentive was just jump on the bandwagon
Yeah, right.
and
Yeah, it's
and the
definitely a hot
Ukraine
topic.
and the quote unquote Ukraine medium map that Warzone
Okay.
hasn't had in previous times. And for the World Islands, I've already found the islands interesting as a kind of Dubai's largest project, but abandoned
Yeah.
and resulting in erosion and things.
Yeah, no, that's a
And
really good subject. I think as far as like even a design
but now there's
perspective and just to do the whole world out of it.
it's Dubai's idea, not mine. I just made a map out of it.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what other game lets you do that though, right? I mean, very few let you completely change and make it whatever it is you want it to be. You look at some of these maps, you're like, wow, what is going on here? But
It's
I
like
had to
one of those
ask.
far fetched maps like EU4. You can tell that he has put in tons of effort into it.
Yeah, right. It's so true. I mean, it's pretty great. You can really find some deep avenues of design and work put into these maps. I think, I was watching absolutely Ethan put together something that he's working on. It's just like, wow. And he's saying that he's not even doing that much, and I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a real big piece of art here you guys are making. So anybody that does
Ethan
maps, you
probably
guys
just
rock. You guys are amazing.
goes through the
Good for
casual
you.
roster process to create their maps. To me, Ethan is more like a guy that always pokes fun at Fizzer.
I love it. He's just pulling out all the guns today. 111. I love it. It's great. So, tell me about. So you really, I think it's pretty obvious you like diplomacy games, and you mentioned
Mm.
mods. So what what combination of those two things have you found works really well? Like, what mods have really helped bring out your diplomacy games to the next level, or even maybe just a different perspective?
To new mod creators, the diplomacy mod they recommend is trash.
Okay,
Use the advanced diplomacy mod V4 for the diplomacy games. That works out very well. It allows alliances. It allows declaring. It just bans you from invading anybody if you declared war. If you haven't declared war on them, which is very effective at preventing PEs and shit. And overall, it's a very good way to
interesting.
control the game from going, from not falling apart to PEs and things.
Does the modding team that does the diplomacy mods, do they recommend diplomacy version 4?
Mod, there has been several mods that promote diplomacy, but for maps, uh, mods are okay, but maps, I I struggle to find a good map for things. So
Sure.
I often recycle those maps. For example, the
Okay.
extended Europe with cities and things, total Fukan diplomacy on Japan and
Mm,
the and I forgot which one it is. It's like Gentleman's World or the Mega World, or I forgot. Just that's
okay.
that one map that the boss always uses.
Hmm. So, is there any other mods that you've found that work really well with diplomacy, even outside of that mod? Like, is there any specialized games? I know you like wacky or unique scenarios as well. Is there any particular maybe games that most people don't play that you just really like or find interesting?
Can you rephrase that once again? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, no. So basically, just curious, is there any unique scenarios or mods that people don't normally play that you really like, or maybe people should check out that you've played around with?
Negative sanctions. It's not a
Interesting.
modded thing. Just negative sanctions haven't got lots of attention throughout in Warzone, and I think that it is good to promote this. It's like reinforcement cost, but better.
Yeah, right. So basically, and maybe just explain for somebody that's brand new that's never used the negative sanction capability.
So sanction cost lets you reduce the target's income by a certain percentage. For example, just like half its income for a turn and for a turn or two to prevent him from continuing moving on. Negative sanctions does the opposite. It increases your the increases your income for 1 or 2 turns to let you get a boost on deploying armies and attacking.
Right. So basically, if you play at least three, I think it is, right? At least three sanctions cards, you're going to boost your production per turn for that
For like
turn.
1 or 2 turns.
Yeah. So it's quite awesome actually. You can get I had one game recently, I had like four, five, I think it was six or seven sanction cards. And I was one of the biggest players on the map. It was astronomical. It was crazy. Definitely that's a good one to bring up on the podcast. I don't think we've ever talked about that on here. So that's great. Um man, I think when I talk to you about we've covered so many different things, but I haven't really brought up idle. Do you play idle at all? Is that something that you enjoy in the game, or do you typically stick around diplomacy?
Less than before. I have kind of enjoyed Idle in some circumstances, but in general, Idle is also fun and relaxing for people who have phased out of Warzone and don't play it too much. But in
Mm,
general, in the community, especially in the forums, Warzone Idle is kind of the thing that is a completely different game from versus Warzone, and doesn't really
Hmm,
match up with the general ambience.
interesting. Do you think it would be better if he separated them?
Uh, it is kind of already separated, but for idle, if he can phrase another, if he can just change another name for something and just
Oh,
can keep its balance to Warzone and clans and coins and things, it will be a
hmm,
tad bit better.
interesting. Just a little bit of more of a name change to help differentiate the two. I like that.
Just
That's clever.
if like Activision promotes a kind of tapper game called Warzone Idol based on the same franchise, what are you gonna do?
Wow, that is
You
quite
lost
an
the voice.
interesting point.
You lost the lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, that's yeah, wow. That's interesting. Well, then I guess I have to go into, outside of that improvement, is there anything else you'd like to see improved in Warzone specifically?
Uh, the most spectacular one of those is the custom scenario being very hard to work with. It's not especially
Mm,
hard to work with. You can basically control it, but it still lacks some functions. For example, the lag problems when choosing a lot of provinces, or you can't change overridden bonuses in there. There has a lot of improvement in that thing, and but in general, it's still fine. It's still okay to use, and on the forum there has been a lot of arguments about the clan wars improvement that everyone has been waiting, everyone has been seeing it being so shit and trying to change it, but Blizzard has seen like no wishes on changing the clan war system
mm.
or even just the clan cap which restrict the player. It's a lot. It's a controversial topic, but
Yeah. Well,
wanting
I
to
mean,
see it
I think
change
it's something,
someday.
right. I mean, I think it's something that should be talked about. Anything that's controversial, as uncomfortable as some people may find it to be, I think it's better to talk about it than to not. I'm probably one that's more about giving you guys a voice that really feel passionate about something. If somebody's feeling passionate about something, that's probably got a good explanation as to why. So
Fizzer ain't
I
gonna
think it.
watch the Fizzer ain't gonna listen to this podcast, ain't he?
I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. My plan is to have him back on at some point, but you never know. You never
Hmm.
know. The other thing, I guess, sort of on the flip side of that, outside of improvements, you kind of alluded to it earlier, and you've talked about it a couple times. But what is it? What is it about Warzone that keeps you coming back and playing the game?
Oh, there's that one game I haven't finished. There's that one game that I haven't finished. There's that one game I'm almost being booted. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back in. Some responsibilities I've carried on like 6 months ago, and 6 months ago, and I have to keep that going. Yeah, I'm just gonna log back into Warzone. I can't just leave that easily.
Well, I mean, I think in some ways that means, like you said at the beginning, when you were losing, there was something about it that made you say, I got to go back and play that again. That was really good,
The
right?
game is the game. Just conduct good sportsmanship. You got if you see yourself in a losing ambience, just surrender and go again. There's always some
Hmm.
games that are waiting you.
There's always another game awaiting you. Love it. Well, thank you, 111. I appreciate that. On that note, I don't know if I could have said it any better myself. That's probably
It
one
would
of
haunt
the
me
most
in like
poetic.
several months. When I hear that back, it's gonna be cringe.
That's so great. Oh man. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for joining me. Like I
Yeah,
said, it's been a long time coming, so glad we could put it together. And hopefully we continue to see you around Warzone.
Yeah, in fact, I also have to thank you for inviting me at the first place. I'm not that relevant after all.
Well, either way, I mean, I'm very, very happy to have you on, and obviously, you've put some good effort into the game, and I think every player in Warzone deserves an opportunity to share, especially if they're willing, like yourself. So, thank you, and thank everybody that's listening to the show. Still appreciate you guys. But we have more coming as time goes on. I stay busy, but I'm going to continue to keep trying to put this stuff out for you guys. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.